How many worlds have you seen today? When you pass a body of water, when you gaze into a lake, a river, a stream, do you truly realize what you are looking at? There are so many worlds that go unnoticed just because we don't have the tools or the time to appreciate them. Millions of years of evolution only to be overlooked and disregarded as lesser forms of life, as if we can be separated from the web of existence as animals, as living creatures. That's why today I have here 4 ecospheres that I want to investigate with you all, as to truly appreciate what lives in these unseen waters. These ecospheres were made via extraction. I simply put the lake water into a container and added sediment alongside plants, rocks, and other debris, as depicted in this very accurate reenactment. Now, we're going to proceed in order of height, with the shortest jar being first. Let's begin with Saint Dollars. This jar was acquired via dollar store for $3, and despite this price, I still worry that my card would decline. Here we can observe to be freshwater crustaceans, and if I had to make a guess, I'd say that it is most likely an amphipod. As for the exact species, your guess is as good as mine. Amphipods are interesting creatures, as they actually do not live entirely in water or entirely on land. You see, their moisture retention is very poor, so they rely on the environment to suit this need, and they migrate to areas that are less or more moist accordingly. Unfortunately, a setup like this does not allow for such migration, so the amphipods in this container may not make it. Now things are getting tricky. Those little white tube-shaped thingies are alive and totally unbothered by my monolithic lens pointing right at them. My guess is that they are copepods. Copepods are aquatic crustaceans that can be found in basically every body of water, except the water you drink, of course. Hopefully. The behavior of copepods vary widely, but some common characteristics include their consumption of smaller organisms such as phytoplankton, and with the larger species, even other copepods. The common freshwater snail. I kept a few snails as pets a year ago, and I underestimated just how much they eat, and even more so, how much they breed. Seriously, I cannot overstate just how much these things reproduce. On top of their insane eating capabilities, snails can actually devastate many ecosystems if their numbers are left unchecked. In this case, their natural predators are nearly entirely absent from this container. Right now, their biggest threat would be themselves. What happens when a population exhausts their food source? The population drops until the food source is replenished, and when this happens, the population will rise again until the food source is deplenished. 'Tis the cycle of life. I want to take a moment just to examine this. There's nothing in particular I wanted to capture when I recorded this, but I'm always so intrigued by the imagery of smaller worlds, the realm of the unfamiliar, bizarre constructs that look straight out of an obscure 1970s sci-fi novel. You scale this up, you'd have a very compelling setting in an alien world. The way the roots branch out in different directions, the gloom of the water, the peculiar orbs of gas that remain motionless, as if they are aware of a predator stalking in the underbush. It truly is fascinating. Next up, we have the guava doofs. This jar contained jam that I consumed in its entirety. Not in one sitting, of course, but I could, if I willed it. There's more of the same, clusters of tiny organisms, regrettably unidentifiable with my limited zoom, but more of that odd landscape. For scale, the pine cone that takes up the majority of this shot can fit between 2 fingers and is roughly the size of a large pebble. I also wanted to address the vegetation that can be commonly seen. These are sea purslines, scientific name, Jesus. Sesuvium portusculatrum. I think I said that right. They are coastline mangrove species that are rapidly growing, salt tolerant, and most importantly, cute as hell. I wonder how they will react in this environment, as they are nearly entirely submerged in each container. I did observe several of the plants directly under the water by the lake, but they were fewer in number than the plants near the shoreline, so hopefully they will make it. Also, remember how I said the alpha would migrate to less moist areas to regulate their bodies? Well, here it can be clearly observed. Ah, the classic moss ball, which is actually algae and only vaguely ball shaped. This looks more like a rectangle with very soft edges, but rectangle algae doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well as moss ball. Isn't it cute? Introducing Browning's channel. This container was filled with browning. You know, like the stuff you put in the pastries and bake stuff to make it brown. No? Well, don't ask me, I've never used it. I only knew it was empty and can be utilized for observation. There's more of the same here, so as to not repeat myself, I'll tell a little fictional story that I made up about this Browning's channel. If you ever find yourself by Lake Ecospheres, if you look between bushes by the blue broken down Nissan with no tires, you'll find a channel. Browning's channel. 40 years ago, there was a man named Christopher Browning who used to own a tiny piece of land by the lake. Christopher was very possessive of this land, and even more so, the channel that led to it. He'd yell at you, throw stones, and even tell you about your mummy. But you'd be a fool to even dip your toe in his water. They said he put a curse on the whole area, and if you enter his water, you turn into a snail and be trapped in the channel forever. That didn't stop when a boy named Jordan Thompson. He was hard-headed and scared of nothing but being bored. So, when his friends dared him to go swim in Browning's channel, he didn't bat an eye. On that night, the five of them creep up into Browning's property, and Jordan slowly approached the water, looking around to make sure Mr. Browning wasn't nearby. But before he could jump in, the bush to his left began to shuffle, and Mr. Browning popped out. "Why are you tripping here so hard, man? Don't go in that flicking water, you hear?" Jordan laughed at the old man and triumphantly jumped in. And it was only a moment before he started screaming. His friends ran over to the shoreline and pulled him out. The water was full of snails." Mr. Browning shook his head and walked away. "Nothing you could do now." The next day, Jordan's friends came by his house to check up on him. He was acting strange ever since that night. His sisters say he stopped eating all the food they made because it was too salty, and he'd scream if he even saw the shadow of a bird. The boys went inside to check on him in his room, and when they peeked inside, they saw he was in bed, moving real slow. Worried, they went over and started asking him if he was okay. He was whispering something real quiet. When they pulled the sheet off him, he had a bunch of pillows folded up around his stomach and torso in the shape of a spiral. "Can y'all please bring me some water?" I hope you enjoyed the story. I know a storytelling segment in a video on Ecospheres is something you probably weren't expecting, but I find it so easy to create little stories based on what I see in these jars. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I'll definitely do more if you guys like it. Now, back to the ecosystem. Algae is often considered to be a nuisance in terrariums and ecospheres, as it can very easily spread throughout the tank along the glass and form a light absorbing barrier that can, you'll never guess what I'll say next, block out light. I have personally observed this in many tanks, but in my own ecospheres, I tend to leave it be. This isn't a tip or a guide, this is just something I personally do. The purpose of the ecospheres I make is more so the observation of ecological succession of plant and animal life, and if an abundance of algae grows, I view that as a part of the succession. Now, on to the final terrarium. La Gran Etiqueta, the largest container, Before this, I had a homunculus named Henry, pictured here. You may be asking, Macro Worlds, what is that strange creature in that jar? To that I say, the gods will not be pleased with me answering that. Moving on, the jar is so large that I don't even really see a need to zoom in for the landscape to be truly appreciated. I decided to zoom in anyway, but this is interesting. Why there are lines in the sand, especially under the sand and by the glass? Given sand's mercurial nature, these lines couldn't have been present when the ecosphere began, so why are they here? What do they signify the presence of? Let's examine another clip. There are more lines here, what appears to be movement. A worm, specifically aquatic oleogets. They are asexual and can be carnivorous, parasitic, or detritivorous, meaning they feed on decaying matter. And that's it. That's all 4 ecospheres. I am so glad you made it to the end. This is the first proper video of Macro Worlds and I truly enjoyed making it. Hopefully you'll stick around for the follow-up in a few weeks when I re-examine the ecospheres to see if they hold up alright. Thanks for watching. This is Macro Worlds, signing off. Take it easy.